There is news from the James Webb telescope. It has looked deeper and in more detail into the Orion Nebula than any telescope has ever done before. So if you want to see what we discovered there between the galactic nebulae, be sure to stay tuned until the end. And if you like it, I would be delighted to receive a thumbs up and a comment, because that will help the YouTube algorithm to show this video to even more people. Thank you, friends, and welcome. We are living in such an exciting time in which we can observe the cosmos in such a breathtaking way thanks to the James Webb telescope as never before. I find it particularly exciting that we can now see regions of the sky that have already been studied in a whole new light. It's a bit like if you had -100 diopters and had only seen parts of your city in a very blurry way until now, and now everything suddenly appears sharp and clear. Take for example this image of the Southern Ring Nebula, taken by the Hubble telescope. It's already pretty nice and impressive, and this is what the image looks like with the James Webb telescope. I'd say that's a small leap in quality, wouldn't you? In particular, the details and the different layers of gas in this planetary nebula are much clearer here. However, it should always be remembered that Hubble observes the cosmos in the optical range, i.e. in the range of light that our eyes can also perceive, whereas James Webb is an infrared telescope. But there is still a certain comparability between the images, and now the James Webb telescope has its sights set on one of my favorite regions, the Orion Nebula, a huge collection of interstellar gas that emits light in different colors. Such formations are called emission nebulae, and the Orion Nebula is the only emission nebula that can be seen with the naked eye. I've been explaining space and the night sky here at the planetarium for a long time, and one of my favorite moments in every tour is when I can show visitors the Orion Nebula in the planetarium room and they can test their seafaring skills. You have to have good eyes to find it among Orion's 3 belt stars. The thought that we can see this beautiful structure with the naked eye is fascinating. The Orion Nebula is 1/350 light years away from us, which is really not much in cosmic terms. It consists of dense interstellar gas, mainly hydrogen and helium, and is one of the best studied star-forming regions. It is a kind of star kindergarten, so to speak. After all, stars are nothing more than a lot of hydrogen squeezed together. If you want to build a star yourself, all you need is a lot of interstellar gas. These young, newly formed stars radiate hot and bright and supply the surrounding gas with energy. This is also called ionization, the same effect that causes the aurora borealis on Earth as the energy-rich solar wind ionizes the Earth's atmosphere. In the case of the Orion Nebula, this causes the entire gas nebula to glow in these beautiful colors. At the heart of the Orion Nebula are some incredibly bright stars. For example, the system Theta 2 Orionis. It is a triple star system and 3 stars that orbit around each other and form the center of a system. This is not as rare as you might think. According to the latest estimates, around half of all systems in the Milky Way are such multiple star systems, and the brightest star in this system is, and now hold on tight, 100,000 times stronger than our Sun. And it is precisely this region in Theta Orionis that both Hubble and now James Webb have been looking at. Let's start with the Hubble image. The bright dot in the lower part of the image is Theta Orionis A, again a very nice image, but not really what you expect when you want to see a colorful, energized nebula with a super hot star, right? James Webb comes to the rescue, and now hold on tight, because here comes the super impressive new image from James Webb. That looks better, doesn't it? Here we can really admire the dense layers of interstellar gas in detail and see exactly how incredibly bright Theta Orionis A is, and above all, how much this star ionizes the surrounding hydrogen clouds. Here again, in direct comparison, are the images from Hubble and James Webb. I think no one can deny that the James Webb telescope is a huge technological leap forward. Of course, it's not just beautiful, it's also scientifically very valuable. Astrophysicist Els Peters from Western University in Canada says, "These observations enable us to better understand how stars transform the gas and dust clouds in which they are born. Young stars emit ultraviolet radiation directly into the cloud that still surrounds them, and this changes the physical form of the cloud as well as its chemical composition. It reminds me a little of an insect in a cocoon that feeds on the cocoon during its development, but ultimately tears and changes the cocoon through its development. In the same way, young stars initially feed on the gas lever, only to then affect it through their energy outbursts, and one aspect of the image particularly caught my eye. Namely, this nebulous crossbar directly above Theta Orionis A. It is a structure called Orion's bar, which consists of even denser gas. The light of a cluster of young hot stars, the so-called trapezium cluster, illuminates the scene from the upper right corner. This bright ionizing ultraviolet light ensures that the bar is slowly eroded. You can also see this Orion bar in the Hubble image, but in the James Webb image we see it much better, and that's because of the infrared light. The longer wavelengths of infrared light, the range in which James Webb observes the universe, are able to penetrate the dust, which allows us to see regions that are impossible to see with shorter wavelengths, such as the visible spectrum, and this also allows us to perceive completely new processes in cosmic regions. Astronomer Emily Habart says, "We have never been able to see the fine details of how interstellar matter is structured in this environment, and to find out how planetary systems can form in the presence of this hard radiation. Just the thought of potential planets there is super fascinating to me. Imagine an extraterrestrial civilization emerging on a planet in the midst of these colorful, dense gas clouds. What an incredible night sky you would have from there." The data from James Webb is currently being further analyzed, and the chances are very good that we will discover exoplanets there. Just look at this part of the image. For me, it's one of the most spectacular discoveries James Webb has made so far. Here we see a very young star, which is like a caterpillar in a kind of cocoon. And in the middle of the cocoon, we see an accretion disk. That is a collection of dust and gas swirling around the young star. And that's exactly how the planets in our solar system began 4 to 5 billion years ago, at least the inner 4 planets Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. Around the young sun, dust, pebbles, ice lumps, and gas swirled in an accretion disk, and ultimately the planets were formed from all this stuff. We are currently standing on a product of the accretion disk, and it is precisely this process that James Webb has captured here. A young star, embedded in a cocoon of interstellar gas around which planets, moons, and dwarf planets are just forming. Absolute madness, isn't it? It will take several 100 million or even billions of years before planets and perhaps even life actually form there. When that happens, I'll let you know, of course. So these processes and dimensions in the Orion Nebula are incredible, but there are objects in the cosmos that make all of this seem very, very tiny. We're talking about the heaviest black holes in the universe. The largest, Ton 618, is 66 billion times heavier than our sun and would devour the entire solar system if it came close to us. I once simulated exactly that, and if you want to see what this monster does to our beautiful solar system, then be sure to click on the video, but be careful not to get swallowed. And if you want to support the channel, then also click on the shop button and get the shirts from the videos, real meteorites, plush planets, and much more. Otherwise, I'd say see you in the next video. Take care, friends.